Welcome to sections 2.6, ratio, proportion, and percent. We're first going to talk about ratios. A ratio is a relationship of one value to another. Just generally in English, we often write ratios like A to B or A colon B. In math, we'll be concerned with ratios written as fractions. We do not ever write our answers as A to B or A colon B. It's always going to be a fraction, okay? And more than that, ratios should always be written as reduced fractions. We don't leave them if they're not in lowest terms. They should be written as improper fractions. Do not write a mixed number. So you would write 3/2, that would be acceptable. 1 1/2 would not be acceptable. Also, 1.5 is not acceptable. Even though numerically they are all the same, we need to keep the relationship. We need to keep the comparison. And if we go to one of these two forms, we lose the comparison. Okay, and there's one other weird thing here with ratios. It needs to be written as a fraction, always. So even if you end up doing all the math and you get 4, that needs to be 4/1. Because we have to have something to compare it to. This is the only time we keep a 1 in the denominator. Okay? Now the next thing we have to worry about is making sure that our units match before we start doing anything. Now I've provided some of the most common conversions that we use in this class. A foot is 12 inches, a yard is 3 feet, a mile is 5,280 feet. A mile is also 1,760 yards. 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. 1 cup is 8 ounces. 1 pint is 2 cups. 1 quart is 2 pints. 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Now, it's possible that you have to do multiple conversions. So maybe I have gallons and I really want them in pints. I would have to convert gallons to quarts and then quarts to pints. It might be a multi-step thing. But you always need to make sure your units match. And it is generally easier to convert your larger units, which are on this side, into smaller units. If you go from this side to this side, you might end up with fractions or decimals. If you go from here to here, you won't. Okay? So let's talk about simplifying some ratios. You'll be given a ratio written in English in the to form, just like we talked about up here. But we are supposed to write it in math and then simplify them. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is order matters. Whatever comes first goes on the top, whatever comes second goes on the bottom. So this is $72 to $220. Okay, I want you to go ahead and get in the habit of writing the units. Because you can see here, if we have dollars on the top and dollars on the bottom, we can think of those as canceling out. Just think of them as if they divided out of the fraction. Okay, so now I have 72 over 220. I need to reduce this. Maybe I don't see the largest thing that divides into them right now, but they are both even numbers, so I can divide both of them by 2. 72 divided by 2 would be 36. 220 divided by 2 would be 110. And we are still not in lowest terms because both of these are still even. So try dividing by 2 again. And this would be 18 over 55. The only things that divide into 55 are 5 and 11, and neither of those go into 18. So this is in lowest terms, and it is your final answer. I do want to show you in general how to use fractions on these calculators. This is with the TI-36XS, oh, not TI-30XS, sorry. The TI-36 Pro works very similarly. The buttons are in pretty much the same position, okay? So if I want to put in 72 over 220, my fraction button is right here. You see N over D? And you can look above that, and there's a U, N over D. So if I wanted to enter a mixed number, I would hit second and then that. And this converts from fraction to mixed number above that. And this converts from fraction to decimal, back and forth. So does this, actually. But if I hit 72 over 220, and then hit enter, it reduces the fraction for me. Now I hit the 72 first and then hit that, and that works if the denominator, if everything is simple, but you can also hit the fraction button first and then hit 72 and then use your arrow button to enter it, and it will reduce the fraction for you. Okay, so let's try simplifying 20 yards to 8 feet. 20 yards to 8 feet. Notice my units do not cancel out. So I need to do a conversion. I need them to match. So I look for my larger units. A yard is equal to 3 feet. So what I want to do is I want to convert 20 yards into some number of feet. Well, if I have a yard, say that's a yard, it's broken up into 3 feet. That means for every yard, I'll multiply it by 3 to find out how many feet I have, right? So 20 yards times 3 is 60 feet, because there are 3 feet in a yard. So this is now, make that conversion, 60 feet over 8 feet. Now my units match, and I can cancel those out. 60 over 8, I know that both of these are divisible by 4. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 15 and 2 have nothing else in common. 15 over 2 is your answer. This is an improper fraction. Do not convert it to a mixed number. You will lose part of the meaning of a ratio.